What happens when betrayal leads to unimaginable tragedy? Can the heartache of infidelity push someone to commit the unthinkable? In the realm of love and trust, the consequences of deception can stretch far beyond emotional hurt, leading to actions that defy comprehension. Today, we unravel a tragic story that explores the depths of emotional pain, motherhood, and the extremes to which a person can go when faced with an unbearable betrayal. This is the story of a seemingly normal family, of a young mother whose life was turned upside down by the discovery of her husband's infidelity. As her world shattered around her, what began as a loving relationship morphed into a coil of despair, leading to the most shocking of outcomes. In a moment clouded by heartbreak, a decision was made that would change everything, culminating in a horrific discovery that would leave an indelible mark on the lives of all involved. A 1-year-old baby, the innocent victim caught in a devastating and chaotic web of deception and emotional turmoil, was found in the unlikeliest of places, a deep freezer, a chilling reminder of a love turned tragic. Join us as we navigate the dark corners of this profound narrative, one that serves as a cautionary tale about trust, loyalty, and how quickly the threads of a family can unravel. As we unfold the timeline leading to the unimaginable event, prepare to confront the raw realities of human emotions and the devastating consequences that can arise when love is intertwined with betrayal. To understand the tragedy that would soon unfold, we must first explore the life of the woman at the center of it all, Emily Harper. A devoted mother and a loving wife, her life seemed to embody the ideal of happiness and stability. But the journey that led her to this point was not without its complexities. Emily was born into a close-knit family, nurtured in a small town where values of compassion and hard work were paramount. Growing up, Emily was known for her kindness and resilience. She often poured her heart into her studies and art, dreaming of a bright future where she could leave a mark on the world. Her childhood was filled with moments of laughter, creativity, and strong familial bonds. Yet, it was not without challenges. From a young age, Emily was inspired by her mother, a dedicated teacher who imparted wisdom to her students with passion and grace. Emily aspired to nurture relationships much like her mother, valuing emotional connections throughout her life. She had dreams of becoming an artist, longing to capture the beauty of the world around her on canvas. With every stroke of her brush, she felt alive, weaving hopes and dreams into tangible expressions. As she entered her late teens, Emily met Daniel, a charming and charismatic young man known for his delightful smile and sense of humor. They met during a summer arts festival where Emily had a gallery displaying her artwork. Daniel was immediately captivated by her passion and determination, and upon forthright introductions, a spark ignited between them. Their chemistry was undeniable, and conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and shared ambitions. Their relationship blossomed quickly, grounded in mutual respect and understanding. Emily found in Daniel a companion who not only supported her dreams, but also ignited new aspirations. He encouraged her to pursue her art more seriously, often bringing her supplies and suggesting local galleries where she could showcase her work. Those early days were marked by youthful passion, late-night conversations, and dreams weaved together in the wall hanging of love. As their romance continued to develop, Daniel appeared to be everything Emily had hoped for: supportive, caring, and deeply in love. Their connection, however, wasn't just about shared dreams. It was about building a life together. After a few years of dating, the couple decided to tie the knot, and their wedding was a reflection of their love, a beautiful celebration surrounded by friends and family who cherished their bond. But as with any relationship, the realities of life began to set in. Shortly after their marriage, Emily became pregnant and welcomed the arrival of their first child, a beautiful little girl named Lily. The joy of parenthood brought new challenges and responsibilities, and Emily was determined to be the best mother she could be. With Daniel by her side, they navigated sleepless nights, diaper changes, and the overwhelming rush of love that came with welcoming a new life into the world. However, as their life together progressed, the pressures of adulthood began to impact their relationship. Balancing a demanding job and the responsibilities of parenthood proved to be challenging. Emily often felt torn between her aspirations as an artist and her duties as a mother. As she poured her heart into raising Lily, she found it difficult to find time to pursue her passion for art. Although Daniel had always been supportive of Emily's dreams, a shift began to occur. Life became a routine of work, childcare, and household demands, leaving little room for connection. The weight of responsibilities transformed their love into something familiar, yet fragile. Emily's longing for creative expression began to clash with her reality, leaving her feeling isolated. Emily's family and friends had witnessed the vibrant woman she once was, full of dreams and life. "She was always so bright and full of inspiration," said a close friend during an interview. "After Lily was born, I could tell she was struggling to maintain her identity. She loved being a mum, but it was like she put her art on hold, and I could see it taking a toll on her." The strain intensified when Emily noticed a subtle change in Daniel. He was often preoccupied with work, spending long hours away from home, leaving Emily feeling increasingly lonely and frustrated. Despite their shared love for Lily, Emily's feelings of isolation grew, whispering doubts that crept into her heart. "She would call me crying sometimes, expressing how she felt lost," Emily's friend recounted. "It wasn't just about not painting anymore, it felt like she was losing a part of her soul." We all encouraged her to find time for herself, but it's hard when you're juggling family life. Unknown to Emily, the pressures and strain on their marriage were masking a deeper issue, one that would soon surface and send their lives into a devastating spiral. As her heart was heavy with isolation, Daniel began to seek distractions elsewhere, ultimately leading to choices that would change everything. Emily's world became increasingly bleak as she struggled to balance her identity with the demands of motherhood and marriage. As weeks turned into months, Daniel's late nights began to accumulate into a pattern that Emily could no longer ignore. The excuses he offered slipped through her fingers like sand, and feelings of doubt began to blossom into an overwhelming sense of dread. One evening, as Emily sat in the living room, cradling Lily in her arms while surrounded by unwashed dishes and scattered art supplies, she felt an unsettling tug in her gut. The house was quiet except for the soft cooing of her baby, yet the silence felt deafening. Was Daniel working late again, or was there more to it? The thought gnawed at her mind, and she couldn't shake the fear that he was hiding something from her. That night, she tossed and turned, unable to find solace in sleep. The shadows of suspicion loomed larger, and as she replayed conversations in her mind, those nagging doubts transformed into certainty. Something in their relationship had altered drastically. When Daniel finally arrived home in the early hours, Emily confronted him. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice steady, yet tinged with anxiety. "You've been gone all night. I worry about you." "I told you, I was at work," he replied, avoiding her gaze as he hung his jacket. "Just had a long meeting. You know how it is." Emily could feel her heart racing, frustration rising within her. "This is becoming a pattern, Daniel. We need to have an honest conversation about what's happening between us. I can feel you pulling away." He sighed, raking his fingers through his hair, his expression shifting to one of irritation. "You're being paranoid, Emily. I'm working hard for us. This is how life is now." The dismissal stung, fueling a fire of anger and despair within her. "It's not just about you working. I feel alone in this marriage, like I'm raising our daughter by myself. I want my husband back." Tears welled in her eyes as she spoke, exposing the vulnerability she had kept hidden for far too long. Daniel's eyes softened for a fleeting moment, but the distance remained. "I'm here, aren't I? Shouldn't you be grateful for that?" The confrontation faded into uncomfortable silence, each of them retreating to their own thoughts. As the days went by, Emily's emotional landscape altered drastically. The love that had once filled their home now felt tainted, and she began to lose herself to the darkness of her insecurities. Unfortunately to Emily, during this time, Daniel was entangled in an affair, an emotional escape that blossomed with a co-worker whom he found thrilling and intoxicating. The secrecy he maintained only deepened the rift between him and Emily, further drawing on his guilt each time he returned home. Each late night became more about avoidance than work, as he tried to escape the tension that was increasingly apparent in their family life. As the weeks turned into months, Emily's suspicions grew, and her anxiety crystallized into a determined resolve. One fateful evening, she decided to confront Daniel again, driven by a mix of love and desperation. "I need to know the truth," she said, her voice firm, as they sat across from each other in their kitchen. "If there's something going on I deserve to know, I can handle it." The confrontation weighed heavily on Daniel, yet instead of confessing, he deflected, forcing a laugh. "You're overreacting again. We've got so much going on. You're just stressed. Everything is fine." "Fine? This isn't fine," Emily replied, her heart aching as she fought back tears. "I can feel the distance growing between us. Please just be honest." But as Daniel looked into Emily's eyes, filled with love and fear, he chose to lie, fear choking his conscience. "There's nothing wrong, you're just being paranoid. I love you and I'm here. That's what matters the most." Overwhelmed with heartache, Emily knew that this disguise could only last for so long. She started to explore the possibility of confronting the reality head-on, even as she prepared for the possibility of devastation. With silent resolve, she decided to take matters into her own hands, not just for her peace of mind, but for Lily's future as well. That night, Emily began collecting evidence, tracing Daniel's footsteps, seeking signs that could affirm her instincts. It would soon become a desperate quest, fraught with emotional turmoil as she navigated a fine line between love and the painful truth. It was a journey that would culminate in a horrifying climax, leading to events that none could anticipate, both destructive and irreversible. Little did she know, as she began to piece together the truth, she was opening doors to revelations that could shatter her world entirely. Days turned into a blur as Emily meticulously gathered information, piecing together Daniel's whereabouts and conversations. She found herself consumed by thoughts of betrayal, replaying moments of love that now felt tainted by doubt. Each text he received that she didn't recognize, each late-night phone call she overheard, deepened the gnawing sense of dread in her heart. One evening, as Daniel settled down for the night after another long day, Emily decided it was time to confront him with the evidence she had quietly collected. A number of text messages exchanged between Daniel and an unknown woman. While she had initially hoped to find clarity, she prepared for emotional upheaval, not knowing the extent to which this confrontation would test their relationship. That night, she waited for him to fall asleep before checking his phone, her heart pounding in her chest as she felt the weight of her actions. The phone was unlocked, a small miracle, or a cruel twist of fate, depending on how this unfolded. As she scrolled through the messages, her heart sank further into despair. The texts were not just innocent exchanges, they were filled with flirty innuendos, shared jokes, and plans to meet without her knowledge. With despair twisting in her gut, Emily felt the world closing in around her. The evidence was undeniable. She could hardly breathe as she absorbed the betrayal laid bare in front of her. Constructing the illusion of a happy family had allowed Daniel to stray, to seek excitement outside the home that should have been a sanctuary. That night, Emily's anguish morphed into a determination, fueled by hurt. She decided she could no longer remain silent. She needed to confront Daniel. "You've forced me into this corner, and now it's time to face the truth," she whispered to herself, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. When the sun rose, Emily had resolved to have the conversation. But as she prepared for what was undoubtedly going to be a heart-wrenching confrontation, unease settled over her like a heavy blanket. She could feel the tension building within the walls of their home. At breakfast, Emily acted as if nothing was amiss, forcing a smile as she made Lily's favorite pancakes. She watched as Daniel moved through his routine, the normalcy of it all contrasting sharply with the chaos brewing inside her. As they sat at the table, laughter from Lily filled the air, but Emily felt a bitter-sweet ache in her heart, an impending storm that loomed over them. "Emily," Daniel said between bites, "are you okay? You seem off." He raised an eyebrow, and dread swelled within her. "I'm fine, Daniel." Her response felt mechanical, a face she struggled to maintain. "Can we talk later?" "About what?" he asked, studying her closely.
"Just something important," she replied, trying to mask the urgency in her tone while feeling the walls closing in. After breakfast, as Lily played in the living room, Emily steeled herself. "We need to talk," she announced, leading Daniel to the bedroom, where they could speak without distractions.
Once inside, Emily closed the door, her heart racing again. "I've been doing some digging, Daniel," she began, feeling the truth bubbling to the surface. "I found some messages on your phone." For a moment, Daniel's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. "What do you mean?" His casual demeanor began to crumble. "I know you've been seeing someone else," Emily stated, her voice steady despite the storm raging within. The air became thick with tension, their shared silence heavy with unspoken truths. "What? That's ridiculous!" Daniel shot back, defense rising in his tone. "You're jumping to conclusions." "Jumping to conclusions? I've seen the texts," Emily fired back, the intensity of her emotions pouring out. "I deserve to know the truth. Who is she?"
Daniel's expression finally cracked, revealing a mix of anxiety and anger. "Emily, you don't understand. I can explain." His urgency heightened the pulse in the room, but Emily couldn't be swayed. "No, you need to listen," she interrupted, tears of frustration blurring her vision. "I trusted you. We built this life together and you were supposed to be loyal. I have had enough of your lies." In that moment, as emotions surged and the atmosphere grew charged, the tension between them became electric. The confrontation escalated beyond words of betrayal into an unfolding chaos, with each accusation building to a crescendo. "Don't say that!" Daniel yelled, his voice steeped in desperation. "How can you do this to us? You'll ruin everything." As anger permeated the conversation, Daniel felt a chilling realization settle in. This was more than just a confrontation. This was a moment that threatened to unravel everything they had built together. The overwhelmed emotions surged through each of them, curling around their hearts like an unrelenting vice. "Ruin everything! You're the one who's been unfaithful!" Emily exclaimed, her voice shaking with a mixture of hurt
and rage. You've already shredded any trust I had left. I just wanted us to be honest with each other. It's what a marriage is built on. Daniel's face turned from anger to anguish, a flash of pain crossing his features. I never intended for it to get this far. It was just a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was feeling lost, he stammered, scrambling to regain control of the situation. You've been so caught up with the baby and everything. I needed attention, someone to fill the void I felt.
Attention, Emily scoffed, the betrayal hitting harder than ever. You think seeking comfort outside our marriage is justifiable? You chose to betray me. You've hurt our family. The vulnerability in her voice faded to a steely edge, her emotions boiling just beneath her skin.
Emily, please, let's not do this now. We can fix it, Daniel pleaded, desperation clouding his judgment as he took a step closer to her. Yet the closer he moved, the more Emily recoiled, her heart racing as she sensed the urgency spinning out of control. The air in the room thickened with unresolved tension, emotions swirling into a maelstrom as they faced off against one another. Every heartbeat echoed loudly, drowning out logic as Sarah fought to maintain her composure. Fix it, Emily echoed incredulously, her voice trembling. What do you mean, fix it? You can't just sweep this under the rug and pretend everything is okay. You've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. I can't trust you anymore. As the weight of her words settled in, Daniel felt his anger morph into something even more potent, fear. Panic flashed in his eyes as he grasped the reality of their spiraled confrontation. You're overreacting, he managed to say, but even he could hear the falter in his claim. Emily shook her head slowly, tears now streaming down her cheeks. No, Daniel, I'm finally seeing clearly. I won't be trapped in a relationship that causes me this much pain. I cannot let you manipulate me into staying.
As if you'd be better off without me. Daniel's voice grew louder, panic mingling with anger. You'll see, I'm the one who's always had your back. You think you can just walk away and take our daughter with you. You don't know what you're asking.
The situation escalated dangerously. Emily realized just how far Daniel was willing to go to keep control over her. They stood on a precipice where vulnerability clashed with the growing weight of their arguments. In that moment, Emily understood that the confrontation had transcended mere arguments. It now felt like a power struggle. She needed to regain her autonomy, but the tension in the room hinted at a pressing urgency to escape the dark shift their relationship had taken. Fearing for her safety, she took a step back, her heart racing. I'm not asking for much, just honesty. If you cared about me at all, you'd realize that I can't stay locked into this arrangement. I need to figure my life out, and I deserve to do that without you.
As her words hung heavy in the air, Daniel's expression twisted from anger to disbelief, and for a moment it felt as if time stood still. You won't take her away from me, he shouted, suddenly filled with overpowering emotion as the fear of losing his family morphed into something darker.
Take who away? Emily retorted, startled. You're the one who's pushing me away. Do you think using Lily as a pawn will keep me here? The words pierced through the tension like a knife, exposing the reality of what was brewing beneath the surface. Daniel's face darkened, the confusion transforming into anger and desperation. You're right. I won't let you walk away without a fight. If I can't have you, no one will. As those ominous words hung in the air, the atmosphere thickened with impending danger. Claire's instincts screamed at her that the situation was escalating beyond their control. Adrenaline coursing through her veins, she took a cautious step back toward the doorway, prepared to escape the confrontation that was rapidly increasing. In that split second, time felt suspended as she realized the depths of Daniel's desperation. You don't mean that, she whispered, fear creeping into her voice. His build-up of emotions revealed a side she had never encountered before, a dangerous edge that set off alarm bells in her mind. "Yes, I do," Daniel shot back, his voice shaking with intensity. "You think you can refuse me? You're making a terrible mistake, Emily. If you choose to walk out that door, you may not like what happens next." The tension reached a boiling point, and at that moment, a wave of panic swept over Emily. She could see in Daniel's eyes that he was no longer just her husband fighting for their marriage. He was a man backed into a corner, willing to lash out, to assert control. Every instinct told her to escape, to protect herself and their daughter from whatever storm was infusing within him. "Daniel, please, this isn't who you are," Emily pleaded, trying to reach the part of him that was once loving and kind. "You're acting out of anger. Let's take a step back and talk about this rationally."
But Daniel took a step forward, invading her space, his tone fierce and unwavering. "Rationality? Do you think this is about reason anymore? I can feel you slipping away, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep you from leaving."
With that, Emily realized they were no longer discussing their relationship. They were standing on the edge of a precipice that could lead to catastrophic consequences. Time seemed to slow as she took another step back, searching for an escape route. "I'm leaving, Daniel. You need help, and I can't be a part of this any longer."
"Leave?" Daniel laughed bitterly, a haunting echo that filled the room. "You think you can just walk away from our life, from me and Lily? You can't. I need you." His voice trembled, revealing the raw emotion behind the disguise he had constructed. Fear gripped Emily's heart as she struggled to process Daniel's escalating desperation. "You're scaring me," she said softly, her voice shaking now. "I don't want to hurt you, but I won't be controlled any longer."
In a moment of chaotic impulse, Daniel reached out to grab her wrist, his grip unyielding. "You're not going anywhere!" he shouted, a mixture of fear and rage flashing in his eyes. The intensity of his grip felt like a warning. This was no longer just a heated argument. It was a volatile confrontation that threatened to cross irrevocable boundaries. "Daniel, let go of me!" Emily exclaimed, tugging her arm free. But he tightened his grip, and in a split second, a moment that felt like forever, everything changed. In a fit of rage and desperation, Daniel grabbed a nearby vase from the table and threw it against the wall. The shattering glass echoed through the room like a gunshot, a terrifying reminder of the emotional volatility that had taken hold. "I'll make you see!" he yelled, storming forward as Emily stepped back in fear. Her heart raced as she realized the situation had turned dangerously volatile. "Please, stop!" she cried, the reality of her husband's unraveling mental state sinking in. In that moment, she saw not just a husband losing control, but a man consumed by obsession and fear, a man she once loved, now transformed into someone unrecognizable. Emily gathered her final resolve. She had to protect herself and their daughter, no matter the cost. "This isn't love, Daniel. This is madness," she yelled, voice filled with anguish, hoping he would hear her words and find a path back to reason. But the look in Daniel's eyes, a mix of desperation and defiance, told her it was too late. Clyde was no longer someone who could be reasoned with. He was drowning, and in his fight for control, they were both teetering on the edge of catastrophe. As the tension suffocated the air around them, a critical decision loomed large. Emily had to escape before things escalated further. Her instincts screamed at her to get Lily to safety. "I'm leaving," she said again, her voice steadying even as the trembling fear coursed through her veins. In that moment of clarity, the gravity of her situation crashed down on her. She knew she had to act quickly, but as she turned to leave, she heard Daniel's voice rise, a mixture of sorrow and anger, laced with adrenaline. "Don't walk away from me. I need you to understand what you're throwing away. I'll make you stay if that's what it takes."
At that moment, Emily realized she was at the center of a life-altering storm, and the choices made from this point forward would carry weight far beyond anything she could have ever anticipated. With one last look at Daniel, she dashed toward the living room, thoughts racing as her resolve took hold. She had to protect Lily. She had to get out.
The night was set to unfold in a way that would leave an indelible mark on all their lives. The consequences of that heated moment would soon become a whirlwind of despair, anger, and irreversible change. As she dashed into the living room, Emily's mind raced, formulating a plan to escape. She needed to get Lily, her precious daughter, who was blissfully unaware of the chaos surrounding her. The emotional weight of the situation pressed heavily against her chest, but the instinct to protect her child propelled her forward. "Lily!" she called out, her voice urgent but calm as she scanned the room. The sight of her daughter playing innocently with her toys brought a slight moment of clarity amidst the turmoil. But time was running out, and Emily could sense the danger creeping closer behind her. Daniel's footsteps echoed in the hallway as her heart sank further. She could hear him moving around, frantically searching for her. Panic bubbled within her. "I have to get her out of here," she thought. Emily's breath quickened as she glanced around the cluttered room, her mind racing with options. She couldn't let Daniel find them. He had changed ever since the quarrels escalated into something more sinister, turning their once happy home into a haunted dwelling. She had to act fast.
"Lily, sweetheart, it's time to play hide and seek," Emily called out, her voice laced with urgency. The little girl looked up, her innocent eyes sparkled with excitement.
"Can I hide in the fort?" Lily asked, pointing to a makeshift tent made of blankets in the corner. "No, darling, a different place, just trust me," Emily replied, her heart breaking as she crouched to meet her daughter's eyes. "I need you to be very still and quiet, okay? It's very important." Lily nodded, though confusion danced across her features. Emily took her daughter by the hand and hurried to the back of the store where the deep freezer sat, an old model that had served them well. It stood like a silent guardian, its heavy lid resembling a portal between safety and danger. "Lily, I need you to get inside here for a little bit," Emily said, opening the lid with trembling hands. She could feel the cold emanating from within, and a pang of fear gripped her heart. But she forced herself to remain calm, trying to reassure both Lily and herself. "I'll be right here, but you need to be quiet." Lily's eyes widened as she peered inside. "It's cold, Mommy. I don't want to." "I know, baby, but it's just for a moment. Please, you'll be safe. I promise. I love you." With a gentle push, Emily helped Lily step into the freezer. She wrapped a soft blanket around her daughter, tucking her securely within the confines of the frosty chamber. Emily closed the lid just enough for Lily to fit comfortably, praying her daughter wouldn't be scared. Just as she did, Daniel's loud voice rang through the store. "Emily, where are you?" He sounded frantic, and the desperation in his tone made her stomach twist. Emily took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a war drum. "Over here!" she shouted, forcing herself to step away from the freezer, pretending to search for supplies on a nearby shelf, praying Daniel wouldn't check the freezer. His footsteps grew closer, heavier. The sound of his searching filled the air, and Emily knew she had to keep drawing him away. "Come on, Emily, show yourself. You can't hide forever," he demanded, his voice laden with anger.
She turned towards him, putting on her best act of calmness. "I'm just organizing the inventory. Can't we talk about this?" But Daniel didn't respond. Instead, he continued his wild search, and Emily felt her heart pounding louder. She kept her eyes glued to the freezer, mind racing with the chilling scenario that awaited if he opened it.
Minutes felt like hours, but finally she heard him walk away toward the front of the store. Emily rushed silently to the freezer to peek inside. "Lily, are you okay?" she whispered. There was no answer. Alarm bells went off in her mind as she realized something was wrong. She hurriedly lifted the lid, but a gasp escaped her lips as she saw that the freezer, with its extreme cold, had put her daughter to sleep. Unknowingly, she had been lost, hidden away while danger drew near. Panic bubbled within her once more. In her desperate attempt to save her daughter, had she sealed Lily's fate? Emily's heart raced as she pulled her daughter out of the freezer, wrapping her in her arms. "Oh, baby, wake up! Please wake up!" But the chilling silence only filled the room, and dread settled into Emily's bones as she realized the consequences of her desperate choices. As Daniel returned, she knew the fight to protect her child had only just begun. She would not let fear stop her. She would fight no matter what it took. In the wake of the incident at the deep freezer, legal proceedings against Emily unfolded swiftly, igniting a heated debate within the community. The charges brought against her were serious and reflected the tragic circumstances surrounding her daughter's near-death experience. Charges brought against Emily include 1. Child endangerment. This charge stemmed from Emily's decision to hide Lily in the freezer, exposing her to extreme cold and potential harm. Prosecutors argued that her actions could be deemed reckless, placing her daughter's life in jeopardy. 2. Negligence. Legal experts suggested that Emily's actions could fall under negligence as she failed to consider the potential consequences of hiding her daughter in such a hazardous location. The prosecution emphasized that parents have a legal obligation to protect their children from foreseeable harm. 3. Disorderly conduct. Given the chaotic circumstances that led to her decision, Emily was also charged with disorderly conduct, suggesting that her actions created a significant disturbance and posed a threat to the well-being of others in the store. Legal experts weighed in on the case, offering insight into the complexities of the situation. While Emily's intentions may have been rooted in protecting her child from an abusive environment, the law is stringent when it comes to child safety, stated a local family law attorney. This case challenges the notion of parental instinct against societal norms and legal boundaries. Moreover, a child welfare advocate commented, "We must consider the psychological effects on both Emily and Lily. Instead of condemning her actions outright, we should look at the systemic issues that may have led her to feel she had no other choice." Family members of Emily echoed mixed sentiments. Her sister expressed deep concern for both Emily and Lily. Emily was under immense pressure. She thought she was saving her daughter. "We need to support her, not vilify her," she argued. On the other hand, some community representatives voiced outrage. A local council member issued a statement decrying the risks associated with hiding children in unsafe places. This incident has highlighted the need for better resources for families in crisis, rather than placing blame on a desperate parent, they asserted. As the community watched the proceedings unfold, the question loomed large. What would you do in such a situation? Faced with fear for your child's safety against an overwhelming threat, how far would you go to protect them? Navigating the thin line between instinct and legality can be a harrowing challenge. In light of this heartbreaking event, we ask you to reflect on the complexities surrounding parenting in a world where danger sometimes lurks in unexpected places. Share your thoughts, and if you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that delves into the intricacies of real-life dilemmas and the human experience. Your voice matters in this conversation. Let's connect and foster a community that understands the challenges parents face today.